It's no secret that Stranger Things is one of Netflix's most popular shows, and Season 3 is one of the more highly anticipated releases of 2019. With a strong cast, sharp story, and a group of lovable misfits a la every 80s throwback ever, Stranger Things proves time and again that retro will always be cool. Reformed 80s bullies, challenging stereotypes, old school childhood sci-fi adventures, they've done all that there is to do, but still keep the surprises rolling in. With Season 3 right around the corner, there's a lot to look forward to. For example, we see that the Hawkins Mall is going to play a seemingly pivotal role in the story.
Hawkins is taking another step into the future with the brand new Starcourt Mall.
Just to make the show even more 80s. Nobody hangs out in malls anymore. But more importantly, we're talking about the mall being a potential minefield for trouble. All things upside down and more. What's the gang going to run into on this new battlefield? And for that matter, what's going on with the gang in general? If you can't seem to scratch that speculative itch, don't worry, we've got you covered. And we expect Season 3 to be the darkest season yet. So much so that we've compiled the darkest theories about Stranger Things Season 3 that we think might be true. Let's get started.
You know I despise Dig Dug.
The death of a main character. Let's state some facts. Hopper is the only character, apart from Will and Eleven, who's been in the Upside Down. Twice. Nothing's happened to him so far, but who knows what's in store for him next. As far as television goes, it's not unusual for a main character to kick the bucket at around this point in a story, to propel the story into a new, darker direction, and some believe that that character in this case will be Hopper. And look, we get it, we love the guy too, but as Reddit user Ender Guardian rightfully pointed out, the show is about Eleven. Each season, we watch her discover something new about herself, and eventually experiencing life outside of the lab, and finally, as Hopper's adopted daughter.
When is soon?
Soon is when it's not dangerous anymore.
The one thing that we can expect for sure from Season 3 is more of a father-daughter dynamic between the two, deepening their relationship.
You just graduated from no TV for a month to no TV at all.
No!
However, with all of this buildup, his death would be the perfect catalyst for Elle, maxing out her rage and pushing her over the tipping point.
Because you're a brat.
Avenging a father figure she has grown to love could fuel her telekinetic abilities further to defeat the Mind Flayer, who has been presenting itself as a keen antagonist for this season. Hopper's daughter was a test subject. We know that this one sounds like a doozy, but hear us out. In this one shot in Season 2, when the group are stuck at the Hawkins hospital, there's a scene with a staircase. Yeah, not super convincing yet, but get this. Maybe this was a lazy production, which I think is highly unlikely, or it could have been an important plant, definitely, but this was the same staircase we saw Hopper crying next to during the flashback about his daughter's death in Season 1. Now, it's never really been clarified, so we don't know how exactly she died. Was it a medical condition that killed her? The wide assumption is, for obvious reasons, cancer due to the hair loss. But what if she was actually the subject to horrible experiments at Hawkins' lab? Sara Hopper may have visited Hawkins' lab in order to get some experimental drug therapy in effort to combat her illness, where, well, the same psychoactive drugs used to subdue Eleven's mom could have been administered to Sara while she was in the hospital, without her father's knowledge. What do you think? Terry Ives might be alive in Upside Down. Remember Terry Ives? Blonde, catatonic, Eleven's mom?
Mama?
From the moment we meet her, when Eleven finds her in the Upside Down, it's weird, isn't it? It's almost as if she was more lucid than we've ever seen her before while down there. Unlike her usual locked-in state, she grabbed her daughter's hand the moment that she saw her, very clearly stating no.
No.
After their connection, in a very telepathic moment between mother and child, we see Terry's nose bleed, just like Eleven's and Eight's, after they use their powers. Coincidence? I think not. The mere fact that she was able to show 11 what happened to her through that fine ability is indicative of the fact that Terry's consciousness is more powerful in the Upside Down. And like her daughter, she has the supernatural abilities to match. Will we get to see more of it come season 3? We hope so. 11 at full power is actually bad news. 11 has become an incredibly powerful character in Stranger Things. And at this point, we're used to seeing her execute her powers alongside a few other things. Her crush on Mike being one, and her regular nosebleeds being the other, more important one. 11's nosebleeds have become a very common sight, especially so deep into her story. But what if it's a sign of something far worse? Like internal bleeding, perhaps? It's pretty obvious that despite how powerful she is, every time that she does use her powers, it exerts some crazy amounts of strain onto her body. She's a child after all. I mean, if that wasn't the case, why the constant nosebleeds? I mean, 11 might be getting terribly hurt without even knowing about it.
And eventually, it will kill you.
Season 3 might just be the place she realizes that something's amiss. Maybe the scare even leads to her reducing the frequency that she uses her powers. But as we know, nothing stays hidden when the Upside Down comes a-calling. Given her nature, we know that we can count on her to save the town with whatever powers that she can muster. Hopefully, she doesn't have to sacrifice herself heroically by using her powers one last time. Man, there are too many cool characters on this show that we could potentially lose. Mind Flayer uses 11 as a host. This right here is essential information, so if you've been lazy about catching up with Season 2 of Stranger Things, stop right now. Stopped? Yes? No? Alright, you're your own captain, but don't say we didn't warn you.
You've always been my favorite.
At the end of the season, 11 confronts the most enormous 8-legged spider monster to have walked the Earth, or the Upside Down, called the Mind Flayer. She uses her awesome powers to seal it way back inside the Upside Down by closing the tear that separated our world and the alternate dimension where the Upside Down resided. However, in that magical, powerful, queen-like display, the Mind Flayer was made aware of 11's existence. I repeat, the Mind Flayer, a creature that possesses people and uses them as puppets and spies, knows about 11, a very powerful young girl. The kid with extraordinarily deadly powers. Definitely not a good sign, given how the show has a tendency to mess you up and ask no questions, and even worse, give no answers. There's something rotten in Hawkins. Let's talk about our boy Dustin. He took a spray to the face from one of the Upside Down tentacles in the finale, much like Hopper. We can't imagine that little fact just being ignored. You really don't just forget about something like that. When Hopper was assaulted, he was rendered unconscious for an undetermined amount of time. Could it be the show setting us up for a possession, much like Will's in Season 2? Or maybe it could be something even more sinister. What if the Upside Down is slowly rooting itself deep into the town, spreading itself into people's homes and windpipes, forcing the government to finally take notice of something shady, and maybe quarantine the population? Now imagine that as the setup for Season 4.
I'm okay.
Not to mention the fact that there are rats on the Season 3 poster, and one of the episode titles of the upcoming season is Mallrats. Could they be involved with spreading an infection around Hawkins? 11 will be plagued with flashbacks. We already know that 11's childhood was less than stellar, to say the least. She's pretty haunted, and the demons aren't going to rest just because she got to go to prom. I mean, if that were the case, life would just be a lot more easy. Anyway, 11's only just learned of the horrible, horrible trials she faced while growing up, and is deeper than ever in the web of conspiracies sown by the Hawkins lab. She's even met her mother in the real world as well as the Upside Down. All of this is just the tip of the iceberg. In some set pictures, we see 11 rolling and basically freaking the heck out in the ocean at some point, and that's never a good sign. To top it off, her mother seems to be there with her. Then again, since we have no confirmation, this might just be a flashback. That in turn stresses out her body and causes a nosebleed, therefore making her weak enough to be invaded by the Mind Flayer.
No.
But I digress. Anyway, what do you think? These are our favorite dark theories that have been floating around about Stranger Things Season 3, but do you have any interesting theories of your own? Let us know in the comments section below, and for that matter, what character do you think is in the most danger for Season 3? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, but most importantly, stay wicked.